Hey everybody, it's Callie, and today I want to talk about how sometimes we spend so much time in our heads that we actually forget to live. When people talk about their OCD, I think something that comes up pretty commonly for people is this constant feeling like we want to mull things over, like we want to just think about this thing. It almost feels like if I just think about it a little bit longer, I'm going to solve this problem. And you get into this overthinking spiral. But to what end? Are you really trying to solve something? Are you really trying to figure something out? Are you trying to make something feel better for yourself? What are you trying to accomplish with thinking about this thing so much? And I think when you have OCD, when you're trying to solve these problems that a lot of times don't really have a solution, or you're trying to answer these questions that are unanswerable, the chances are you're ruminating. Rumination at its core is just a compulsion. It's something that you're doing to make yourself feel better or to alleviate some of the anxiety and those negative feelings that come with whatever obsession you are ruminating over. And the thing is, I bet most people, OCD or not, have ruminated about something in their lives. There's lots of normal stressors that somebody might be worried about. You might be worried about the future in general. You might be worried about a job interview that's coming up, or you might be worried about some other thing. And a lot of times that thing is tangible. It's something that you can kind of place that worry and you can figure out why you're worried about it. You might be trying to figure out what's going to happen or what your other options are if it doesn't work out, or where things might go. And I think a lot of times that's normal. That's a normal experience for people because let's face it, it's really hard to be constantly mindful and 100% present with the present time all the time. I think a lot of us really struggle with that, again, whether you have OCD or not. The issue for people with OCD is when sometimes that thing that you're worried about is not some kind of tangible thing. It's not some upcoming thing that's happening or an event or something you can really put your finger on. Maybe it's a feeling, maybe it's just some kind of random question that got its way into your brain and now you can't stop thinking about it. It's that kind of a thing. And it's not this normal worry. It's when that worry about something, that normal worry that people experience, becomes abnormal. It's when it starts to eat into the rest of your life, and when you can't really feel like you're totally present and you're really going through your day the way that you need to, all of that is interrupted. All of that is interrupted because you're ruminating, because you're caught in a compulsive loop. So when you're really hung up on something like that, that's kind of a problem. I mentioned before that it feels like we're almost right on the edge of answering some kind of question sometimes. It feels like I just want to think about it a little bit more. I just want to figure it out. But again, those questions that we're looking for an answer for aren't always answerable. They don't always have some kind of solution that we can really act on, or that is tangible, or that makes sense. For me, because of my experience, I always bring in my harm OCD, because although I've dealt with other themes of OCD, that's always the one that is the stickiest for me. That's always the one that I have to work on the most. That's always the one that seems like it hangs around a lot longer than other themes that I've had or other obsessions that I've had. Most of the ones that I really have a hard time getting rid of deal with harm. So that's always what I talk about. So for me, something that I might ruminate starts out with a question that pops into my mind. That's something like, what if I'm incapable of feeling love? And it seems silly when you lay it out like that, but OCD is like, au contraire, it is not that simple. Actually, we have to analyze this to the nth degree to figure out this question. I might say, oh, of course I've felt love before. I've loved people, I've loved my pets, I've felt those feelings before. And then OCD comes in and says, but how do you know that that's love? How do you know that feeling that you feel, how do you know if the way that you love is the way that everybody else loves? How do you know when you only have your experience, when you only have your thoughts and your feelings as a point of reference? You're kind of spiraling. And then I'm saying, oh my God, what if I'm a sociopath that I can't feel love for people? What if what I actually feel is obsession? What if what I actually feel is infatuation? And then it'll go a step further and I'll say, oh my God, what if I'm dangerous? What if I'm capable of hurting somebody because I don't actually love them, I'm just infatuated with them? What if I want to own them? Like, what if I'm treating them like they're my property? And then suddenly I'm thinking about a fight that my brother and I had when we were kids in a park, and I'm saying, okay, does this fight indicate that I'm not capable of loving somebody? Does this fight indicate that I'm a vindictive, evil person? And you can see how it kind of spirals from there. And then I'm stuck in this loop that I can't get out of, and I'm trying to solve this question. And at this point, I don't even remember what the original question is, right? I've devolved so far from it that my mind is just going a mile a minute, trying to look for proof, trying to find an answer, trying to alleviate some of that anxiety that I'm feeling. So for me, again, from my experience, I think sometimes the thing with rumination is not so much the worry that comes from trying to solve that problem or trying to figure that out. It's that feeling that I get from worrying about it. So then I say to myself, well, if I were really a bad person, or if I wanted to do bad things, I wouldn't be worried about being a bad person, or I wouldn't worry about doing bad things. I would just do those things because I wanted to, right? So it's almost like by worrying about it and getting to that conclusion or whatever, it's almost like I'm reassuring myself that I'm not a bad person, that I'm not going to do those bad things, that I don't want to do those things. So it's almost like I'm checking my feelings and seeing how I'm feeling as I'm ruminating. And as long as those feelings line up with what I think I should be feeling by thinking about those questions, I'm where I wanted to be, right? I'm feeling like I'm solving something. Even though I can't answer those questions, those negative feelings that I'm feeling check out to me. They're saying, okay, good. I'm worried about it. That means it's not true. That means it's not going to happen. And it almost feels like I'm being productive in some kind of way by worrying about this thing. I'm getting that little bit of gratification by, again, checking and saying, okay, I have negative feelings. Good, that's what I want. I don't want to feel good about this. I'm feeling the way that I want to feel. But again, I'm doing that compulsively. So it's like a drug. It's like the more you do it, the more you need next time. And then you get stuck in these loops, and it's, before you know it, you've spent all day doing these compulsive ruminating cycles. The day is over. And I don't remember half of it because I wasn't present. I was in my head all day, and I don't even know what happened to me during the day. I don't remember really going about my day. I don't remember the things that I did. I don't fully remember the conversations because I wasn't present. I wasn't there. I was so stuck in my head, thinking and checking my feelings and making sure that everything lined up. So then I guess the question becomes, how do you break that cycle? It takes some time to learn to deal with rumination and other mental compulsions because, as I said before, that's what rumination is at its root. It's a mental compulsion. It's not so easy, I think, sometimes to just agree with the thought or let the thought pass like it doesn't matter. I know that in my worst times, if somebody had told me that I just had to agree with a thought that I might be a sociopath or that I might be incapable of love, it would have really felt like, in agreeing with that thought, that it was true, that by agreeing with it, that it was going to become true, that I was going to make that my reality. And of course, now I understand that that's not how that works. That's not what that means, but it takes some time, and you can't just dive in head first like that. This is something that you have to kind of dip a toe into and work up to facing your larger, deeper fears like that. And that process of working up to those fears happens through ERP, or exposure and response prevention. In my experience with ERP, you start with things that are a little bit lower stakes. You start with things that are distressing to you and they worry you, obsessions that really get to you, but you're not just going right for the worst one first. You have to kind of build up a tolerance and understand how the system works, understand how the therapy actually plays out, how it actually benefits you. You have to understand that you're working towards those goals and you're taking it step by step. If working on that hierarchy and finding out how you can take those little steps in this process towards facing your larger fears is something that you're interested in, that is something that you can do through NOCD. So right now you can go to NOCD.com or treatmyocd.com and you can start to figure out how you want to get to that end goal. You can talk to a therapist that will help you build your hierarchy, help you take those smaller steps that when those all culminate and you get towards your larger fears, you're ready for them. You're ready to take that on and you're ready to get that control back in your life. So you're not spending all day in your head and not living your life. Have you ever had one of these rumination OCD spirals where you're spending all day thinking about this thing and then you can't even remember your day because you spent all day living in your head instead of living your life? I would love to hear your experience. You can leave a comment below. And on that note, I'm gonna get going and I will see you guys next time. Bye.